It is time now to bring in our State House insiders. Dave Wilson, our Republican strategist, Antoine Seawright, our Democratic strategist. Guys, the big news right now, the ongoing government shutdown. It's my understanding that the Senate may vote again tomorrow on the possibility of reopening the government. But let's talk about how this shutdown is impacting the state of South Carolina. Antoine, what are you hearing?
Well, I think the Senate will once again make an attempt to vote tomorrow, but this leader Thune has indicated that likely any votes will take place over the weekend. I think the sticking points in this legislation, obviously, for Democrats have been health care. The message has been simple: cancel the cuts, make health care affordable, and save health care. We know just by way of the big ugly bill, the largest cut to Medicaid in our nation's history, which means that 1 out of 4 nursing homes will close. We know that community health centers like Eau Claire Clinic is already closing in Columbia, South Carolina. But the bigger sticking point here is about the extension of the Affordable Care Act tax credit, which keeps your deductibles, copays, and so forth, and premiums at a very minimum cost. We know that research has told us 75% increase likely to come if those extensions are not implemented. And so that's the big sticking point of why we're in this government shutdown posture.
Well, the other side of that equation is whether or not healthcare benefits are going to be extended to people who are not in the country legally. That's a big sticking point for a lot of people right now because they're not exactly sure, is the healthcare benefits that I'm getting also going to somebody else? Are they getting my tax credit that could be holding my insurance costs down? And that's an important thing because every single one of us feels that every single month when we write that check or we make that payment for that insurance.
And Dave, I'm so glad you brought that up because that's been one of the biggest pieces of misinformation, disinformation, or quite frankly, lies that we've heard from the Republican majority coming out of Washington. In order to qualify for an Affordable Care Act subsidy, you have to have a Social Security number. That means illegals cannot qualify, or illegal immigrants cannot qualify for an Affordable Care Act subsidy. In fact, it's against the law. It's the rule of the law that they cannot qualify. So unless Republicans want to repeal the law for the sake of their talking point, then that's the only way that is actually possible. And so at the end of the day,
But
this
it's not.
is about.
But it's not just the Affordable Care Act, Antoine. It's about other health insurance coverage as well.
Well, by way of the Constitution of the United States, unless you want to change that, anyone who goes into a medical facility in this country are offered health care. Now, how they pay for it is different. But the argument out of Washington by Republicans is saying that Democrats want to give Affordable Care Act subsidies to illegal aliens. Not only is that not true, it's illegal to do that.
All right, let's move on to another subject now. A circuit court judge here in Richland County basically clearing the way for the Department of Justice to get South Carolina voter information that was in question. A lady in Calhoun County suing, saying it was against her constitutional rights, but the judge says there's safeguards in place here to protect certain information. Dave, what are you hearing about this now?
This is one of those places where the Department of Justice has requested the information. The voter data has certain pieces that are to it. Your driver's license, your social security number, and they're saying that that information is going to be shielded and extracted from that, and the regular voter data is there. If you don't understand that part, then understand this. Most political consultants in South Carolina can get almost the same exact information. Save those two pieces, including how you voted, at least in Republican or Democratic primaries, and what elections that you voted in. So here's information that is out there that is available for purchase by the public, and the Department of Justice is now asking for that.
I don't know why Trump's DOJ wants our data. I've lived through several presidencies. No other president has requested our data. I think people in South Carolina, including our governor and other state house members, will be going crazy if Joe Biden's DOJ would have requested our data. I think it's kind of fishy. I think it's funny. But at the end of the day, the judicial system speaks, and the judicial system has spoke in the state. And so we have to go along with that. It does not mean that citizens, particularly Republican citizens who talk about government overreach and they do not want government involved in their lives, they should be raising questions of why Trump DOJ wants our data information and what it's going to be used for and what happens to that information when Donald Trump is no longer president. I think those are legit questions that we as South Carolinians should be concerned about.
That's an absolute right point on that, Antoine, because that's a place where the question is this data, how is this data going to be used? Because data, as we can see in today's AI economy, is extremely, extremely valuable.
All right, Dave Wilson, Antoine Seawright, guys, as always, thank you so very much for your time. We're going to take a quick